Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this. I'm from Mass Live in Massachusetts. I was curious, where you're playing in Foxborough, if you plan to have Bill Belichick, who's obviously had such a connection with the Navy program over such a long time, if you knew if he was going to interact with your team at all, if you're going to have any kind of interactions with him.
Yeah, actually, got a chance to talk to him last week a little bit, and plan to have him speak to our team after our team meal on Friday night. So, obviously excited about that. I know our players will be really fired up, and he was glad to do it. So, grateful that he's willing to come over and talk to our guys.
Is that a special connection that he has with your program? Does that feel from where you sit like a kind of a special thing?
Yeah, certainly. I think with the history of his dad coaching here for as long as he did, and living here in Annapolis for a while, I think he's been close to our program the entire time that I've been here. Very supportive, and it's great to have a guy like that. That if you needed to reach out for advice, he'd be glad to give it. And he's been very open to having us up to their facility and things like that. I haven't got a chance to take advantage of that personally, but I know some of our coaches have in the past. So great connection, obviously.
Thank you.
Scott Wyckoff.
Hey, Coach, Scott Wyckoff with WBAL Radio in Baltimore. How have practices been going as you've been getting ready for Army?
Really good. Really good. It's nice to have 2 weeks to prepare. Wish maybe we had 3, like those guys did, but that's okay. It's plenty enough time to get our game plan in, make sure everything we're doing is black and white, and our players are comfortable with it. I think the big thing is being able to go play fast without thinking a whole lot. And a game like this is obviously critical, but I think our players, the preparation's been outstanding. They're locked in, they're dialed in, so it's been good.
What's it like for the younger players that are going to play a key role in this game that haven't played in an Army-Navy game before? Is it a combination of both the coaching staff and then the older players kind of leading them that way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think certainly we have our message and what it's like playing that game, but I think the best thing you can do is have them hear from some of the upper classes, some of the guys that have played in this game, what it's meant to them, give them an idea of what to expect a little bit. I think Coach Folk had the linebackers in his position room the other day. Some of those older guys like Will Harbor and Ramos got up and just talked to the younger guys about what it feels like, what it means, how important the details are, how important it is to be able to focus, one play at a time, to be able to drown out the noise, to not try to do anything outside of yourself. Just do your job as well as you possibly can do it, and get lined up, and continue to do it over and over again. But I think the message from our players is probably more impactful than it is, even from the coaches.
And what's it been like for you, Coach? You sat in a different seat for 4 years as the defensive coordinator. How has it been this last 10 days now in this final week leading up to the Army game as the head coach?
Yeah. It's been good. I tell you, there's no game like it to coach in, that's for sure. I think, there's a certain amount of pressure I felt as a coordinator calling the plays, making sure that I got our guys in the right position, put us in the best possible position to be successful. I'm not calling the game Saturday. I'm making decisions, obviously, and when to go for, when to punt, and how to use timeouts, and all those things that decisions you have to make during the course of the game. But it's a little different kind of pressure, having to worry about all 3 phases of the game. In the past, you felt like you played well on defense. There was some peace of mind that went with that. And now as the head coach, I got to make sure we're on point all 3 phases, and when we're not, I feel a certain responsibility for that. So different, but the same. The excitement's the same. The nerves and the anxiety and the buildup is the same. Not a whole lot different. It's no more important to me now than it was, as the defensive coordinator, Scott, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks.
For those of you who joined us late, just a reminder, we're doing 3 questions each to start. First time through, if you could introduce yourself along with the media entity you're representing, that would be appreciated. Let's go to Kareem Copeland.
Hey, Brian. Kareem Copeland, Washington Post. How are you?
Good. How are you, Kareem?
Good. You want to get your shot in on my shoes yet, or no?
No, I'm good, man.
All right.
What size shoe
I
do you wear, by the way?
I was just gonna build off Scott's question real quick. As now as the head guy, I know nothing feels different. Like you were just kind of saying a couple of minutes ago. But I'm curious, did you do anything different in these last couple of weeks as you lead up? Just maybe the way you kind of not necessarily put your stamp on things, but just kind of the way you run the program. I don't know if you guys did anything unique or different in the lead up this time.
Yeah, I think the lead up to this game is always different, whether you're the head coach or coordinator or position coach. I think our players' mindset going into this game is so important, that their psyche's in the right place. You don't want your kids to feel uptight going into this game. You don't want them to press, but you want to be laser focused and dialed in on everything that we're doing. And so there's a balance there. I think my job as a head coach is to make sure that we're in the right state of mind, the right mindset going into the game, and so that's kind of what I try to have my pulse on as much as anything right now, Kareem, if that makes sense. And then being involved on the game plan on both sides of the football, I've enjoyed that. But the approach, the way we prepare is not any different. Obviously, there's a lot at stake. There's a little different feeling. We'll go out to practice this week. And that's normal. It's typical of this game. But again, I think just the mindset that we go into that game with, just the things that we continue to emphasize and reiterate during the course of the week, just how physical a football game this is going to be, and how the attention to detail and the way we execute is going to be the difference in the game.
When you look at their offense, what really stands out to you?
Well, I think they're really good up front. I think Bryson Daly's a really good quarterback. I think they're a tough, gritty, physical football team. It's kind of a challenge going in to defend them because they've been in the gun most of the year and came out in the last game under center. So obviously expecting to defend both and chasing a lot of other things in the meantime. But I think they do a really good job offensively. I know a lot of those coaches, and I'm sure they'll have a great plan in place. But a ton of respect for the way they play on that side of the football, just the physicality and the grit, toughness that they play with. And
one last one for me. You guys have all talked about Xavier McDonald so much this year and in the last couple of years, and a lot about his leadership and things like that. But you guys have so many leaders. I'm curious, what is unique or what kind of separates him a little bit from the pack?
Xavier McDonald?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think Xavier, has paid his dues. He's obviously been a starter for us this year. Prior to that, he was a role player and a backup at striker. I think just the way that he's continued to go about his business throughout his entire career, he's done things the right way. He's a player that's improved incrementally every year, every phase of the off season that we've gone through. Just plays with tremendous effort and just a great leader by example.
Thank you very much.
Richard Thompson.
Good afternoon, Coach. Excuse me. During media day at Gillette Stadium, you mentioned that Xavier Arline had to be switched to slot back, but you didn't tell us why. What necessitated you to make that move, and then what brought him back to the quarterback position?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think didn't really get to participate in spring ball going back as we were installing a new offense. Had some injuries and some things that he was dealing with. And early on in the summer, we felt like there were a few guys ahead of him in the direction that we wanted to go. And with emphasis on being able to throw the football a little bit more offensively, we felt like, there were guys ahead of him. At the same time, we felt like he was a guy that needed to play for us because of his athletic ability and some things that he brought to the table. At that point, we made the decision, hey, he's got to stay locked in, at the quarterback stuff. We're going to try to get him involved in the slot room to make sure we're getting our best players on the field in whatever capacity we can do that. And as the year went on, he got more and more reps at quarterback, and injury, stepped back into that role. And I thought he practiced really, really well throughout the course of the whole year. I mean, he's handled himself incredibly well. Don't think the move to slot was necessarily what he wanted to do, but he handled it like a champ and and stayed the course, continued to be a great leader for us. And so it's nice to see it come back kind of full circle for him. Really done some really good things for us the last few weeks and continue to get better, throwing the football better. So we just can't say enough good things about him and where he's at and kind of what he's gone through to get to this point.
What does he bring to the field beyond athleticism? What are the nuances? What is his style?
Yeah, I think he's a really good leader. I think he's a competitor. And I think he lifts the guys around him up. I think he's got a lot of credibility amongst our players, specifically because of the way he's handled the entire year. I think all those players appreciate that and rally around him. But just, outside of the athleticism, it's his leadership.
And just talk about the physicality of the Army defense and what Xavier will be facing on Saturday.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of similarities in when you look at their defense and you look at ours. They play extremely hard. They're extremely physical. They fly around. I think they're really well coached. They know what they're doing. They play fast. They've got all 11 guys run to the football. Again, just the physicality they play with. As I mentioned earlier, just a ton of respect for how they play the game.
Thanks for your time, Coach. Good luck Saturday.
Sure, thank you.
Richard is from the Boston Herald. Bill Wagner.
So, Mr. Thomas just asked about Xavier. If Xavier start?
Yeah, I think so.
You cut out on us, Wags. You get it?
I got the question.
He got it. Game week. How do things change during game week? I'm guessing your more physical practices might have been last week, but you probably want to have another 1 or 2 physical practices this week. If so, what days are those? And I mean, just how do you get your guys calloused up ready for this big game? I know it's been a long season. You don't want to kill them on game week, but you got to get them physically ready.
Yeah. We, it's interesting during the bye, we've been pretty banged up, so we wanted to get some guys healthy, but we also had to go out and get some good work in. So had a couple of physical practices last week. And this week, our Tuesday, Wednesday are physical practice days. Won't be as physical probably as they have been. At this point, we got the game plan in, and it's really just polishing everything up. But we will be in full pads on Tuesday, and we'll be in shells on Wednesday, and we'll get some physical work in. Maybe not to the extent that we typically do at this point.
So I kind of talked to you about this last week, but Coach Volker was saying that some of the new assistants have been asking him questions about what to expect and how loud is it in the stadium for an Army-Navy game. You've got so many assistants who are brand new to this, who have not participated in this game, and you know what it was like because you went through it in 19 as far as your first experience. So is there anything you can do to help the assistants? We always worry about players who are young and not experienced, but the assistants, same thing, right?
Yeah, I think as an assistant coach, and I took this information when before my first game, is hearing the same message that we're preaching to our players. It's a breathe, focus, explode game for our players. It's the same thing, for our coaches. And you don't expect the coaches to get some of the distractions that you're concerned about with your players. You're not concerned about your coaches, but there's certainly nerves as a coach, and there always is. But this game is a little different. But just to relax and do your job as well as you can do it.
In terms of injuries, some of the guys that went out against SMU and were out for SMU, I'm particularly wondering about your wide receiver room with 2 starters, Kamari Wilkinson, Jaden Umbarger, and several reserves. You feel like you're going to be stocked up and have the guys you need out there? And, do you feel like you're going to have everyone, that all the frontline players that you've had most of the season for this game?
We'll be in good shape at wideout.
Okay, and I apologize. I was Bill Wagner from the Baltimore Sun and Capital Gazette newspaper. I apologize for not following the format.
It's okay. Everybody knows who you are, Bill.
It's Kamari Williams.
It's a mental block.
And then
I covered a kid named Kamari Wilkinson, who was our athlete of the year. I'll let it go. Go.
I know. Also, just as an FYI, including the head coach, we have 9 coaches that have been involved in the game and 5 that have not, just as an FYI. Pete Medhurst.
Pete Medhurst, honored to be the voice of Navy athletics. Coach, you entered a class of people as an assistant coach coaching in this game, but you've entered an even more exclusive group by being a head coach now in this game. Professionally, what does that mean to you?
Pete, I wanted to win this game as bad as a coordinator as I want to as a head coach. And so, my approach and my desire to win this game and all those things has not changed at all, really. The game's just as important to me now as it was then. So I'm not really answering your question too well, I don't think. But, this is obviously a game that is the number one priority for our program. It's important in so many ways. It's such an important game. You win this game going into the off season. It's such great momentum. So it's important for a lot of reasons. But as far as its importance to me and its relevance to me, it's no different than it was before I was the head coach.
I know 6-6 without a bowl game represents at least a mild sense of disappointment because of the lack of bowl game, but 6-6 overall. Just what does that do? As you just mentioned the key word, momentum, as you look to build now, you guys will be on the road, recruiting here shortly. Just what would that mean to get to that point and obviously establish that type of momentum going into your off season?
I think, again, just what you just mentioned is that's the momentum going into the off season. There's no better momentum than going into the off season than beating Army. Even a season that hasn't gone, the way that we wanted it to, or hoped that it would in certain regards, you feel pretty good going into the off season after a win at the end. So it's really important for our program. It sends our seniors out, the right way, Pete, with a win, and just a tremendous momentum going into the off season.
You obviously have coached at every game you've been here. These things, outside of Malcolm's, that first year, I mean, these games are close. Details mean everything in a game like this. At the same time, how, as coaches, do you avoid the overemphasis on all of the details just so you don't have sensory overload, not only for the players, but even for yourselves as coaches?
Yeah, well, I think, there's certain things that we are constantly reiterating throughout the weeks getting ready for this game. Don't feel like you're going to have to motivate your players to play hard or play with the physicality that it takes to win this game. You talk about it, and you make sure they understand how physical a football game this is going to be, especially for the guys that haven't played in it. But I think that the point with, being able to be in the moment, to play one play at a time, to control your emotions. It's going to be an emotional game. You play with emotion, but you don't let emotion play with you, I think is the key to this type of game. And it's important for our players to understand the margin for error in this game is very, very small. And there's going to be 2, 3, 4 plays that are going to be the difference in this game. And a lot of times that comes down to focus or lack of focus. I told our guys that one team's going to flinch at some point, either physically or mentally. So that's a challenge. No one's going to be an extremely physical football game, but the ability to maintain our focus, playing and play out, and play as hard as we can is going to be the key to winning this game.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Noah Trister.
Yeah, Coach Noah Trister with Associated Press. Just one question from me. I guess there's a lot always made of the familiarity between the teams in these rivalry games. How do you guys, make that work to your advantage more so than Army's advantage?
I don't know if the familiarities and can be made into an advantage. Our guys follow them; they follow us. We recruit against Army. It's the number one goal in both of our programs. We all know that. But I don't know that where there's necessarily an advantage there, Noah. At least I can think of it off the top of my head as far as just the familiarity. We know, I know coaches on their staff, a couple of them very well, and vice versa. And so when you spend time on a staff with guys that are on other staffs, you kind of know their personalities a little bit. And maybe some things they like to do, or certain tendencies that they may have, and maybe there's some advantages there.
Yeah, thanks.
Andrew Mahoney.
Andrew Mahoney from the Boston Globe. Good to see you again, Coach. I met you last week at Gillette Stadium. When I talked to Xavier last week about the fact that he's able to do two sports and play lacrosse, he was very appreciative of what his teammates and his coaching staff have done for him. How accommodating do you have to be to allow him to be able to participate in the spring when you do have spring football?
Yeah. Well, it's something that during the recruiting process, we promised him, give him the opportunity to play both. And I think, when I took over in December, as much as I wanted to say, hey, let's not do lacrosse this spring. Let's get you in spring ball with a new offense and those kind of things. Didn't feel like I could do that. And, to his credit, playing two sports anywhere is difficult. Playing two sports at Naval Academy is incredibly difficult. But whatever free time that he had, he played a lacrosse game on Tuesday or whatever, and did practice on Wednesday. And so he handled it really well. It wasn't like he's a guy that we had to chase down when he wasn't playing lacrosse. So I think he managed it about as well as he possibly could. I think our players have a lot of respect for a guy that plays two sports, and showed his face as much as he did in the spring, although he wasn't able to participate because of some injuries. But I think it's a special deal. Anytime you get an athlete that can play both sports and be a contributor, a high contributor in both sports, is pretty remarkable.
And I'm certainly not asking you to reveal your game plan, but what do you think you need to do to be successful on Saturday?
Well, I think a lot of things. We've got to take care of the football. We got to win the turnover battle on Saturday. Field position is going to be critical. Our play on special teams could very well be the difference in the game. The way we cover, the way we protect when we kick. Defensively, obviously we can't give up X plays. We can't give them any gifts. You go back and look at the Air Force game, and really say that was the difference in the game. One huge explosive play in this game can get you beat. We got to play assignment football. We got to have great eye discipline. We got to have 11 guys, doing their job offensively. We have to move the sticks. We have to sustain drives, be able to flip the field. And when we do take our shots, we need to be able to hit them.
That's good for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, we've got 10 minutes. We're going to go one question each if you have one. Matt, I'll throw it.
I'm good, thank you.
Scott Wyckoff.
Coach, you mentioned breathe, focus, explode. Why are those three words so important to your players?
It's just the one play at a time mentality. Important to relax between plays, to get the call, to get laser focused. And when the ball is snapped, just tremendous effort and physicality, doing your job within the framework of the game plan on both sides of the football.
Thank you.
Kareem Copeland.
I'm actually good. Thank you.
Thanks, Kareem. Rich Thompson.
Rich Thompson, Boston Herald. If I can permit it to go off script a little bit, I'm the Boston College beat writer, and they just drew SMU. And my question to you, Coach, is what's the ACC getting when SMU joins there?
Really good, really talented football team, a lot of resources. They're a team that was able to flip and build their roster through the portal and NIL, and I think that they've got the resources to continue to do that in the ACC.
Bill Wagner.
So, Coach, obviously this game comes down so much to the mental side and not making mistakes, whether it be penalties, turnovers, that type of thing. I mean, I know it's hard to coach mental, focus, but how do you try to? I mean, you can emphasize it all you want, but I don't know. Especially, I'm thinking the false start penalties cannot happen in this game. When you're getting a drive going again in this game, which is so hard, going backwards 5 yards cannot happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you can only talk about it so much, and you don't talk in regards to not making mistakes, right? You don't want guys not playing not to fail or not to make mistakes. You want them playing to win and playing to execute, and so that's the communication that we use. And getting back to what I said earlier about it, the breathe, the focus, explode, one play at a time, not letting the play before affect us. Understand that there's going to be ebbs and flows in the game. Not everything's going to go our way, but our ability to respond and to stay focused on the next step is critical. But that's what these games come down to. Something that we talk about all the time, not just when we go play Army, but obviously the execution piece is going to be the difference in this game.
Pete Medhurst.
I'm good, Scott. Thank you.
Noah Trister.
I'm good. Thanks.
Andrew Mahoney.
All set. Thank you.
All right, we got like 6 minutes. I'll go back to the two who never missed a Zoom. Scott Wyckoff, do you have anything else?
Yeah, Coach, as you get ready for this game and you see players developing, what is the biggest difference with the seniors? And sometimes I would imagine some of the guys who maybe don't play a lot. Do you see a difference with them in practice as they know this is it for them?
No, I mean, I think with the seniors, those guys have been in this game. They know what it's like. They've had a taste of victory. They've had a taste of defeat. They're chomping at the bit. They look forward to this all year round, and I think they feel a little bit of responsibility to help these guys that haven't played a lot enough to understand, what this game is like and what it means. I think some of the younger guys, you got to fight them being a little bit uptight about playing on this stage, and so you do everything you can to prepare them as a coach and let some of the upperclassmen, help prepare them as well. I think we're a team that's itching to play. Everybody knows what this game means to our program and to our players, and so it's a little different, preparing for this one than it is for the other ones.
And what did you think of the excitement that you saw up in New England and Foxborough surrounding this game, a new venue, but seeing just this excitement that New England's bringing to being able to be a part of this?
Yeah, my first media day, from what I understand, it was probably three times as many people at this one than there has been in the recent ones. But yeah, I was super impressed. Everything was very well put together. You could tell there was sincere, genuine excitement about having us, and so I thought it was pretty outstanding. I think it's a great venue. It's an iconic venue. The players are excited about getting up there and playing in Foxborough. We couldn't be more excited about the stage.
Thanks.
I'll say it's probably the most media we've had at Media Day and in the press box on Saturday since the mid-90s, I would say. Bill Wagner.
Mike James from the Mid Report posted an interesting Twitter post today. The Army has a considerable number of fifth-year seniors and fourth-year juniors, more than you do. Can you talk about maybe not having quite a level playing field against your arch rival?
If they had any turnbacks, it'd be more than we do, right? So,
I was going to say.
No, I mean, that's something we've talked about in the past. I mean, it doesn't change anything. It's not something I worry about. Not something we can do about right now. Obviously, you'd like to have a few of those, but we don't. And we're certainly not going to make any excuses because we don't. Yeah, it is what it is, Wags.